As I'm making this video, the NBA playoffs and the finals have been on. This time of year used to really excite me, watching basketball and talking about it to friends and family. But this year's been different. I still talk about it to my friends and family, but I've barely tuned into any of the actual games. I didn't watch many games during the regular season either, but I thought once the playoffs rolled around I would get back into it, and that just hasn't happened. I think a part of it is the way the NBA is played, and especially the way it's officiated frustrates me. All the gambling ads and stoppages, but that's kind of like a minor thing. And I did think that my love for basketball would override that enough for me to watch. It's been slow, but over the last 2 or 3 years I've noticed this creeping feeling when I would watch the NBA. And for the longest time I didn't know what it was. All I knew was that it was uncomfortable and it was dull. But recently, I think I've figured out the real reason why I haven't watched many games this year. And that is apathy. Apathy, simply, is the feeling of the lack of emotion or feeling nothing. Apathy is not neutral, even though logically it sounds like it is. It's neither bad nor good, so neutral, right? From my own personal experience, as well as looking at things like the map of consciousness developed by David R. Hawkins, apathy is barely above feelings of guilt and shame, which are right at the rock bottom of emotions. A life predominantly filled with apathy is one of hopelessness, numbness, and deadness. It's not a loud or obvious suffering, but suffering all the same. At this point in my life, apathy only shows up here and there, but there have been times where apathy was my default feeling. It's very easy to get stuck in a never-ending loop or a routine of apathy, just doing the things you've always done even though they don't hit like they used to. Under some circumstances, that can even seep into feeling apathetic to everything. People, entertainment, school, work, hobbies, they can all just begin to feel grey. The other tricky thing about apathy is that I often felt apathetic about feeling apathetic, meaning I didn't really care that I didn't feel anything, which led me to just wallow in my apathy and not take any steps towards pulling myself out of it. This was my experience during a lot of my time in high school. Nothing really excited me or brought me joy, but nothing really made me angry or sad either. Honestly, feeling upset or angry almost felt like a better alternative sometimes, because I was glad that I could care about something that much to make me feel angry or upset. But everyone at some point in their lives has felt apathy, even on a small scale. That dead feeling inside happens to everyone at various points and to varying degrees. I don't know who said it, but I remember hearing an explanation of how you can understand if something is the right decision or not depending on your emotional reaction. With every decision, there is a certain amount of excitement, fear, and apathy. Ideally, you want every decision to lean towards excitement. But more importantly, you want as little apathy as possible. If something makes you feel 60% excitement, 40% fear, 0% apathy, then it may be worth putting your time into. But if something is 20% excitement, 10% fear, 70% apathy, then it may not be worth your time. And I'll explain a little more about that a bit later. If I had to say what my ratio was with the NBA right now, I'd say 30% excitement, 5% fear, and 65% apathy. But the ratio can apply to bigger things like your career or your relationships, but those things are obviously a lot more complicated and require more responsibility, so take plenty of time to reflect on those larger aspects of your life and see what the excitement, fear, and apathy ratio is. It's a lot easier to switch up hobbies than it is to change your circle of friends, who you're going out with, or your career path, but it is an important question to ask yourself regardless. The ratio is also not be-all, end-all. It's just more of a marker to help if you're on the fence about something. So what do you do when you feel apathetic towards a single small thing like I do with the NBA? You change. Either move on from it entirely and remove it from your routine, or you change your relationship with it. Whatever approach you take to the apathetic parts of your life, you will need a new replacement. I know from personal experience that cutting off something you feel apathetic towards to then just do nothing with that energy or time that you've freed up isn't positive either. I've replaced the time I would usually spend watching the NBA with things like drawing, playing the piano, which have a much healthier excitement, fear, and apathy ratio and bring me a lot more fulfillment. I'm also actively trying to fill up the time that I'd usually just spend scrolling on social media with reading, but that's a bit of a work in progress. The replacements can be anything remotely positive. It doesn't have to be some honorable pursuit either, or something super complex. It can just be like taking a walk. Moving on from something that doesn't bring you joy and mostly just apathy can feel super freeing as well. And starting something new in its place can be really exciting. Humans, by nature, are constantly changing, evolving, and growing. I'm not saying just chase pleasure and hop from one hobby or pursuit to the next, or as soon as things get a little difficult, just quit. I'm saying if something feels like it takes a little part of your soul every time you interact with it, or just makes you feel numb, then it can also feel so much lighter when you move on from it, or at least take a break and come back to it at a later date. Rigidity in routine and clinging to things familiar to us is completely understandable. For a lot of you, and myself included, a rigid routine brings productivity and a way to get in the groove. But when those familiar things or that routine doesn't work like it used to, or are even making you apathetic or miserable, this is where you practice detachment. Detachment is what apathy wishes it could be. Detachment, how I understand it, is a sureness in oneself that can't be shaken by exterior things. It also isn't shutting down or avoiding life like apathy. It's the openness to live free of expectations, outcomes, or material items. Practicing detachment is definitely easier said than done, but being aware that ourselves and the world around us is constantly in flux helps us to put things in perspective. Nothing lasts forever, and clinging to something familiar that we feel apathetic towards for the sake of comfort may only bring us more suffering. I could tell myself I should keep watching the NBA because I have for a long time, and why should I stop now even if I don't enjoy it that much? It's a part of who I am, right? My friends and family will still expect me to be interested, and I should care about the outcomes of the finals like I normally would, right? But all these self-imposed pressures will get me nowhere and only lead to resentment towards myself, the thing I cling on to, as well as others. So I do the best I can to stay detached and accept that things will change for me and for others, no matter how hard I try to keep things the same. I can do everything I can to try and revive that love for the NBA that I once had, but it may never come back. And in today's day and age, our time grows more and more precious. Our attention and energy have always been a currency, but now it feels more important than ever to use them wisely. So tools like the excitement, fear, and apathy ratio, as well as practicing detachment, can be very important to help you be the kind of person you want to be. Being open, being aware, being intentional, and being able to detach are the pillars that have helped pull me out of apathy and towards openness, presence, and feeling. And I hope that these pillars will help you as well, or at least help you discover your own pillars to steer you towards a higher state. If you made it all the way through and felt like you got something out of this video, a sub and a like really helps me out, and if you had any further thoughts or your own approaches to feeling apathetic, I'd love to read them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.